Let's go through breeding in Palworld. This is so that we can get eggs. This actually makes getting some rarer pals a lot easier, particularly if you're trying to farm the legendaries up and this kind of thing. So let's get into that nice and quick. To start with, the most obvious thing that you need to do is build a breeding farm. You can see it's pretty cheap to build. Probably the most expensive thing is like 100 wood, but that's like the most easy thing ever. But take a look at it. It does take up quite a lot of space. And so just bear that in mind when you're building it. This is kind of like my main production base. This is where I produce stuff at the moment. And I had to move quite a few things around just to be able to fit that in. So just bear in mind, this is pretty big, needs a pretty large flat space. So if you're doing this in like an uneven area, consider using something like the foundations to flatten the ground down if you are struggling around with hills and that kind of thing. It does work out pretty well. You'll see in my second base in a second. The next thing that we need to do is create cakes. You can see we have quite a lot of ingredients here. So this can kind of spread across a few bases, which is exactly what I've done. We're going to go over quickly how we get some of this, in particular flour. So if you don't already, you'll need to make sure you get some wheat seeds. I already have a video on the channel on how to get them. Make sure you have at least a few wheat farms across your bases. Berries are pretty much everywhere, so that one's pretty easy. For the eggs, milk, and honey, you can decide to farm some of the creatures, which I'm going to show you guys right now. Welcome to my production paradise resort. Things are looking pretty cool here now, actually. The base is starting to come along. Do you guys like the view that my pals get to have when they're chilling out on those beds? Anyways, less getting distracted. Right here, I have pals that are producing all of the ingredients that I need that come from pals. That is obviously milk, honey, and eggs. So to get those three ingredients, it's best to have at least one chickpea. I'm not going to tell you where those drop because they're everywhere. A mozzarella for milk. They spawn all over there. And a bee guard for honey. These spawn all around where I am right now. So you'll see that basically the pals, as and when these guys start producing the materials, they'll just come over, they'll drop them straight off in my big storage unit right here. So that then when I want to produce cake, I can just go ahead, take these back to my other base so that we can begin the production process. So you don't have to keep on going out and finding it all yourself. When it comes to the wheat, you will need to make sure that you build a mill. This basically works the same as the crusher, apart from it's going to turn our wheat into flour. And once you have all of those ingredients, you can just use any cooking pot to start producing the cake. Once your cakes are finished, you pick them up and then you go ahead and put them into the box that is to the side of the ranch. Obviously, make sure this is visible. Sometimes you can clip this around. It didn't really happen for me, but just feel like it's worth saying. And one of the cool things is once the cake is actually in that box, they don't expire like some of the other items do. So once it's in there, it's safe and ready for us to use. To begin creating children or eggs, it's as simple as putting in a male and female pal into the breeding ranch. So I'm going to try and pick a couple out right now. I did put a couple of catrus out so that I could do something easy. And once you have a male and female in there, you'll see that they are now working on creating our new egg. In this instance, it's obviously going to be a catrus. You can mix and match any of the species to get all sorts of different breeds. Now, because that is an incredibly large amount of combinations that we can create in the game, I will link to a very well put together Reddit guide that goes through the very specifics of the breeding calculators, how you can pass traits down from parents to children, because basically the way this works is the traits that the parents have a chance of going down to the offspring. So in this case, you probably wouldn't want to breed this one because bottomless stomach is pretty bad. So I'm obviously going to cancel this. That's going to be terrible. So pick parents that have ideal traits so that you can build the strongest of children. Note that if it's like a legendary or something like this, so let's say you caught 2 jet dragons and you're breeding those, don't be too disheartened. Basically with each child, what you want to do is check its abilities against its parents. If they're better, you want to swap them out, and then you're going to save up to 116, I think it is anyway, so that you can condense them down to get your pal to its ultimate power. So this is both a shortcut and long process if you are looking to get the absolute most powerful pals. Right now, there's not exactly ridiculously high-end raids, but I'm sure once we get more content added, that is going to be something that people are going to want. So not a bad idea, just kind of bear that in mind. Get the better traits on there, something like traits like legendary and ferocious, this kind of thing. And that's just something that we can work on over time. That's probably going to be close to the end of the guides that I'm doing for the game now, as me and the family look to start taking out some of the higher end bosses and stuff. So I hope that helps you out, and I'll catch you all in the next video.